going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 261. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him... He's sitting here on a Thursday, sad, disappointed. Austin, Texas, coming off a 2-1 defeat in the U.S. Open Cup final last night. How you feeling, my friend?
Pretty defeated, man. A little numb right now, I guess, just from all the emotions that took place last night. Heartbroken for the guys, seeing some photos of them last night, just like sitting down on the pitch, watching Nashville raise the trophy, Mirtu in tears, like just feel absolutely awful for these guys and the way that game played out last night. Yeah, man, I feel horrible. You know, we framed this as potentially not being able to see another championship game in Q2 Stadium ever, which I don't know. You know, obviously we can't see the future if that's going to ring true or not, but this was the opportunity here and squandered, and it really sucks. So I know most of the fan base is really hurting today, and I commiserate.
Yeah, man. I mean, you brought up, right, seeing the photos of those guys dejected and, you know, letting some of those emotions out, which then caused me to let some of those emotions out watching them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I've been there before, sitting there having to watch after losing a championship game, and you watch the other team, whether it's on your home floor or home field or on the road. It's just gut-wrenching, man.
Yeah, it just hurt.
And to your point about, right, it's not like, do we expect the team to make it back to not just a final, but finals in our lifetime? Of course we do.
Mm-hmm.
But just that's what was also eating at me post-game last night was like, it could be the last time for sure that we host a final in our lifetimes.
It's not guaranteed.
I know that's super negative. I know that's maybe defeatist or whatever you want to call it, but that's just where your mind's at after an opportunity like that is missed.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing guaranteed. You know, you might not ever see it again. And I don't, want to feel that way forever. I don't think I will, obviously, as the years move on and move forward here. But nothing's guaranteed, man. And I do think the guys left it all out there last night, and that's really all you can do. And so I salute them for that. I think everyone played their asses off to varying degrees of success, but the want was there. The desire to win it was there. And yeah, you got to leave it out on the pitch, man. And that's sometimes that's sports for you. That's how it goes. Sometimes you got to watch the other team raise a cup on your home field.
Yeah, and I think that's like, right, coming away from the loss, and I think both of us having no complaints, right, like you said, about the effort, about the desire to win. Of course, in a loss, there's always things that you could have done better, you woulda, coulda, shoulda, and we'll talk about them here in the recap. But I'm proud of this team. I'm proud of the guys. I'm proud of the coaches. Certainly proud of the fans. And look, man, anybody last night pointing out that, there's 6 total seats on the other side that aren't filled in. Like, shut the fuck up. Shut up.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, well, of course, because it's people who want to, run some sort of negative narrative out there all the time or whatever. And it was a late arriving crowd.
Yeah, it was.
And I think that kickoff should have been at 7:30.
I agree.
And I understand there's other, right, they had the Campeones Cup last night, which I think started, pretty much right after our match wrapped up. But I don't know, man, like, let's cater to the fans a little bit more. And it's clear that the entire fan base did not have time to get there on time, because at kickoff, it is like 65, 70% full. But by minute 25, 30, I mean, that place is packed.
Yeah, no, it was completely filled out at that point. Yeah, whatever.
Well, like I said, we'll recap last night's final. And somehow, man, look, these guys have a game to play.
Yeah.
In 48-ish hours from when we're recording this now. And from how I feel right now, as somebody who didn't do shit except go in there, have a few beers, eat some pizza, and cheer on the team, I don't feel like going back to Q2 right now.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine how those guys are feeling having to go to, what is likely a light recovery session at the training center today. But that to me is, once we get through this recap, that's the story from now until Saturday, is how do these guys pull it together? I think a win this Saturday, despite the opponent already being eliminated, would be such a boost. Obviously a morale boost, but a boost for me as a fan in the confidence of this team to be really mentally resistant and mentally strong. So we'll see, right? But that's what I'm thinking about now as we're looking ahead, because that's another thing before we, get into this, man, is like, I guess I just didn't prepare myself for how weird it would feel to have a championship game that's not at the end of the season.
Yeah.
That's not like, I'm not used to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
we couldn't have pushed both of these teams to play it on Sunday either, too. You know what I mean? Like, we couldn't have done that. We can't figure that out. Like, having to bounce back on Saturday. I don't know, man. I just looked at the schedule again. This might be a must-win game versus St. Louis.
Yeah.
It really might be. You got LAFC after that, and like, good luck with that buzzsaw. And then you're going to have a San Jose team who wants the ultimate revenge on us from this season. So like, you're going to have to bounce back. And that's what this, like you said here, once this recap is done with us and everything, I know that these guys are going to, get in, get some light work, like you said, probably watch some film and stuff, get some rehab, all that. But mentally, man, I hope they're taking the day today to kind of just process all of this, and then you're back to work, and you got a huge game coming up on Saturday.
Well, as those guys are back to work, let's get to work here, E. Before we jump into the recap of last night's loss, just want to remind you all listening or watching on the YouTube channel that you can support the North End Podcast financially by downloading the audio versions of our episodes wherever you get your podcast. You toggle on auto downloads on, Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you're getting those podcasts. You can toggle that auto downloads on, support the show going forward. You won't have to think about it again. Go the extra mile, rate and review the show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you are watching on the YouTube channel, hitting that subscribe button does help us grow the show. You can hit the notification bell on YouTube to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, here on episode 261, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords. Atone for your sins, wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. So, E, could we have been more wrong about the lineup?
I guaranteed Beirut wasn't going to start.
Yeah, and look, this is how down I am today, is that I didn't come dunk on you with that, bring that clip back. You're like, Beirut is not starting. And I was with you. Yeah. Because he was bad last weekend, dude.
It also it just didn't make any sense. It literally logically, looking at the, him coming off the knee soreness, him going 90, the way he looked.
Yeah.
The way Komanich has looked.
Yeah.
The fact that we played
John's not even in the team.
Yeah, the fact that we've played the 5-back in every single one of these Open Cup games, and then you don't do it in the championship game. All signs are pointing to it. But but way off. Julio gets the start, no Svatak.
Yeah.
Obviously, we hit the midfield. That's the easy one. And then the attacking players, of course, too. But I was pretty surprised by this lineup.
And it wasn't, I think it's more the formation and then how confident we were that Big Tex was going to get the call out there. He certainly will on Saturday, and better be able to go 90.
Yeah, you better. And we're not going to get the answer to this. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Nico talked about it and something that I missed, but this was a bit of a chess match move, I think, by Nico here to revert to this lineup that was the post BV injury lineup here, which we have liked and have had success with, of course. But I do think that, there was some things that went into play here that they saw, the coaching staff saw how Nashville plays, and switched it up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's no question. And before we get into that, because I think right off the rip, you see that coming to pass, not just with the lineup, but with how Austin starts this match.
Yeah.
But the tifo, dude.
Oh my God. You should win a cup for that.
Yeah, right.
Like, honest, this is stunning how good it is. It's the best one I've ever seen.
And
you know what I mean? I love the player one that we did with all the guys out there. I thought that was great, but like the quality of this is insane.
Well, and that's what I'm, shout out to Susanna and David, who had me on kickback committee earlier in the week to do a little preview. And they were asking me about, is there going to be a tifo, this and that. And they asked me what my favorite tifo was. And off the top of my head, I think I did qualify it saying there's so many I could choose from. But I said the Groot tifo just because I thought that was a little bit unique. We've done plenty of tifos that have to do with all the players. And again, it's like asking you to pick your favorite child, looking at all these masterpieces that these people cook up there, man. And I know so many fans worked on this one because it's the planning period is just shorter. It was 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago that we advanced, and so much goes into this, I know, behind the scenes. So just wanted to shout out everybody who had a hand in producing this one because you guys did us proud, man.
Yeah, it's incredible. Stunning.
So getting into the match, this is what I was kind of noting a few moments ago. That Austin gets the ball first. And as we were just discussing this maneuver, 2 weeks ago, I think it was against Dallas. Maybe Seattle. I don't know. But Austin boots the ball out of bounds on purpose.
Yeah.
And that was line up and then wait a second, that's a high pressing indicator. So we are like you said, right? It was a little bit of a chess move at the beginning from Nico and his staff to switch things up on Callahan. And I think when you pull back and look at this game after the final whistle and compare the first half and the second half and how the quality of the chances that Austin was able to create really, I thought, took a downturn in the second half. I think Callahan probably made some chess moves of his own at the half, not necessarily ones that I was able to pick up on here as somebody who's not well versed in the soccer tactics. But I think it was a good battle between the coaches as well. Like, I think if we can try to step out of our disappointment here in our fandom, I think if you're a third party viewer of this game, I think it was a pretty fun match to watch.
I don't know. I think it was, I think obviously if you're a neutral party, which I don't even know if I can put myself in those shoes right now, but no, I think there was too much mayhem from the game last night that took place. We're going to talk about the PKs. I think we have similar opinions on both of these pens that get called in a championship game. So maybe, I mean, I guess I hope you had a good time if you were just a neutral fan.
In the second minute, Andy Nahar stays down. Looks like he's grabbing his wrist, but then you see the replay and Owen accidentally, when they go up for a challenge, Nahar comes to the ground and Owen stepped on him. So he had those little cleat marks on his hand. But he already had the other wrist taped up, so now he's looking like a boxer out there. Jump ahead to the 17th minute here, because I think over the first 15, 16 minutes of this match, both teams have some good actions going forward, but kind of a stalemate in terms of getting any chances, certainly shots on target, right? I don't think there were any until this moment where Nashville's working it up that left side, headed towards the south end. Some quick one-touch passing, which we saw Austin with a different lineup, right? Different personnel in there for sure, but the one-touch passing killed us up in Salt Lake last weekend, leading to some of those goals. And here it kind of does again, because the ball falls to Surridge. He whips it into the 18 towards Jacob Schaffelberg, who got the start on the right for Nashville. And Schaffelberg does really well here to chest this down with intention into the path of Hani Mukhtar, who's racing into the 18 himself. And Hani takes the shot, bangs it down into the ground. Reminded me of like Alex Ring's scuff over Alec Kahn in the 2022 opener reminded me of Emiliano Rigoni at New England 2 years ago, where you just bounce it into the ground. You don't know much about it, but because of that awkward shot, neither does the keeper. And Brad does get a fingertip to this, but ultimately it gets past him into the back of the net, and the good guys go behind early.
I mean, I don't know if he was fully intentional, like with intentionality to get this like passed over here with this bounce, but it's a good strike.
I'm saying Schaffelberg, the chest down to Hanny was intentional. I thought that was a good piece of skill there because he put it on a platter for Mukhtar.
Oh yeah. No, I'm saying the intentionality of how good this deflection off the Mukhtar shot is. I didn't think he was intending to do that, but I mean, there he is, that guy who's been a thorn in our side since we've been a club, man. And like you said, the first 15 minutes here, both teams really feeling each other out, right? You start out the game as Austin with a formation that I don't think Nashville was expecting. I definitely don't think they were expecting us to boot that ball. So there was a bit of a feel out period to see what everything was looking like. I can't really point to anyone here on the defensive side that is doing a poor job. It's a good play by Schaffelberg. And as you mentioned, those one-touch passes have been a bit of a thorn in our side. And unfortunate, obviously, Brad gets the hand to this, but you're down 1-0 here in the 17th minute. But the response by Austin is what I want to talk about, because after this moment, you're clearly the better team up until the end of the first half. Yeah, absolutely. The chances that we start to create here are impressive. But again, you didn't finish your dinner. And as much as there's going to be things to point to with the refereeing and some of the tactics that Nashville was using to stall this game and just try to get out of here, you still didn't finish your chances. And that's the thing that's been plaguing this team all season long.
Yeah, so it was just 3 minutes later in the 19th minute where Owen Wolf plays Mirtu Izuni through, and he's into the 18. And Schwacke, right, that was kind of a surprise for us, and we had heard whispers from the Nashville fan boards and subreddits and things like that they may be starting this backup keeper, since he had been their keeper throughout the tournament. Joe Willis wasn't even in the team, so I don't know. I expected to see him on the bench, but Schwacke comes out here to meet Mirtu, and Izuni touches it first. Then Schwacke does get a fingertip to that ball, but he also goes into Izuni's legs. Mirtu sells it. And the pen is given. VAR completes the check. Mirtu lines up over it, man. And this is another one of those penalties, not necessarily from him, but we've seen it from, I think we had a Brandon penalty that I said something similar of it's like he's passing it in rather than shooting it. And Schwacke was able to get down to his left, push it out for a corner. It's a bad take. And just brutal watching Mirtu there rubbing his head, knowing he wanted that one back. But I don't know if we should have had it in the first place.
I'd be upset if I was a Nashville fan, for sure. And shout out to them. They showed out last night. They really made it
their fans were great. The ones that I talked to were awesome.
Yeah, I thought that they were nice. Sorry to the ones that I was flipping off pretty consistently after we scored, but just heat of the moment. Yeah, I would have been upset if I was a Nashville fan. I think in a championship game, you want to do everything in your power to avoid being impactful on the game as a referee. And I think this is a bit of an overreach by the refereeing crew to award this. And, as they say, ball don't lie. And this attempt by Mirtu is not good. It's not good, man. He's staring it down. You're clearly not going cross body with how he approaches this ball. And then to have that little amount of pace on this shot, man. And we're talking about it in the stands. If you're going to have it be that, little emphasis on the shot, it's got to be right on the post where it's just you still can't get it. And it was.
Yeah. 24th minute here. Lovitz, the left back, slipping down, which allows Osman Bukhari to take off with a ton of space up the right wing. And I thought Nashville does pretty well here to get bodies back and stifle an easier chance, but Buka holds up just for a moment as he gets inside the 18 there on the right before whipping back around towards the end line. And he fires a shot near post that Schwacke puts out for a corner, and nothing doing on that corner. But again, the rest of these notes pretty much for the first half are similar to this, where it's Austin getting chances, Austin on the break and creating everything. I don't know. You had gotten the crowd back into the game, even after the goal, even after the missed pin. Like, the energy was still there, and you could see it from the players.
Yeah, absolutely. And just what a ridiculous move. I've never seen players do these types of moves where it's like, I'm going to turn all the way around, face my own net, and then immediately turn around. I'm just going to beat you. I thought maybe, again, we've talked about this with Buka all season long. That far post, man. You know what I mean? Like, I know the angle is a little more difficult on this one because it has been, very much crunched down, and Schwacke is in position here. But maybe a lofting ball to the back post because he's committed fully to that near post on that side. A lot of pace on this shot, but you generate this corner kick here.
Yeah, and that's what – if Buka is going to go near post as consistently as he does, I'd rather see this, of course, than him putting it into the side netting, as we've seen plenty over the course of the season. Danny does pick up the first yellow card of the match in the 30th minute. Tackle on Muyo in transition. Like, this was one of the more deserved yellows that I think he's picked up this season.
Yeah, and I guess we're gonna have to talk about Danny a little bit too as this game progresses and everything. But he was feisty last night, for sure.
34th minute, Rubio gets kicked by Mar here, and just over midfield on a long clearance from Guilherme Biru. Both guys go down. Yazbek kind of pings it back towards the Austin half because, like, it looked like the players are expecting a stoppage here and a foul call, and no whistle comes. So Danny's on that ball that Yazbek just kind of tossed away, and Danny bends this one kind of over the top of the defense in the direction of a diagonal run being made by Osman, and he bodies Lovitz off the ball and is in behind. But Maher gets up after, laying on the ground for a second. I think you got to get him credit here to sprint back and disrupt the cleanest look that Osman could have had on net. He forces Book to spin around before having a go, and that extra 2 steps allowed both Schwacke and Maher to come in and slide and get a deflection on that shot, inches away from being the equalizing goal.
I mean, this is really where, the refereeing starts to come into play. If both teams are complaining about this not being called, I really don't know what else to tell you. You've made a mistake. And obviously good on Austin for, seizing the opportunity in the moment and continuing to play, because obviously you play until you hear the whistle. Fortunate, but good effort by the Nashville defense to get back and make this as difficult as possible on Osman. But like you said, inches away, just like their goal was. It's a game of inches at times. Their goal bounces in, and this one very easily could have. But the effort from the Nashville defense was solid. But the game has opened up here. You've seen a lot of long balls being played from Austin that were dangerous, whether they were going to Owen on that left wing or whether we were launching them towards Mirchu up top. That long ball stuff was working last night, and I think it's reflected in the stats.
Oh, I thought you were going to pull a stat out. Sorry.
I was
waiting for Stat Boy over here.
I was going to pull him up, but I'm on the wrong page right now. I'm already looking at fucking playing St. Louis.
Okay. Well, look, you're doing your job here. Ease on the St. Louis preview this week at the northendpodcast.com. But we're into the 39th minute now here at E, where Heinzike lumps one long towards Rubio, another one of those long balls getting in behind, and like similar to the Schaffelberg touchdown to Hanny, right? Not in the 18 here, opening up for a direct shot. But Rubio, I thought, did a great job. I think you and I both turned to each other to acknowledge this touch by Rubio nod it back to Osman right into his path. And incredible. Book then drops it to Dessler, and Dessler looks up. He's got runners into the 18, so he launches across towards that back post. And this is right on a platter for Guilherme Biru, who got in behind Andy Nahar, and Biru nods it into the ground, and it goes just wide. That should have been a goal.
It should have been a goal. And, this was a golden opportunity. And I don't know if Biru is one of those players. I mean, he's human, obviously, but I don't know if he's really one of those players that, like, wanes in confidence. You know what I mean? I think he's a guy who very much believes in his talents and his abilities and everything like that. So, like, his recent run of form could be something you could point to if it was a guy who's been struggling with his confidence, but he just misses that one. And he definitely should have done better with this. You got to put this on frame here. This has got to be, and again, I think to that far post, obviously sitting here, Monday morning quarterback, Thursday morning quarterback, whatever you want to call it.
Thursday morning left back.
Yeah, so there we go. Thursday morning all-star. It could be a little better, but yeah, tough. But again, still, this game has opened up. It's very much in Austin's favor right now. I did just pull up those stats. 24 accurate long balls for Austin last night. So not only did you have more than Nashville, you also beat them on the percentage of those actually landing in areas where we're getting the ball. But good run of play. This was an opportunity to finish.
42nd minute, the opportunities are not done here in the first half. Austin, again, like as you can tell, and you also, if you're listening to this, you of course watched the game. Austin still on the front foot here, closing the half, in possession again as Guilherme drives forward on that left side before he drops it off to Wolf, and then Owen picks out Diego Rubio, similar to Biru running in on the previous play that we highlighted. You've got Rubio running wide open and all alone on that back right post, and it's a good ball right to Diego's foot, and he fucking whiffs it, man, and it goes out for a goal kick. And again, I don't know if that would be a goal, but it was a great fucking opportunity to put one on target and continue to test Schwacke, and that was, again, he knew it. You see him put his head in his hands, missed that one, and in every sense of the word.
Very un-Diego. Goal scoring chances for Diego are usually the times when he really locks in and does well with his opportunities and chances. And yeah, another one. But the momentum is building. Like you said, the crowd is still very much in this game. And now at this point, you've had not only, you've been scored on, you have a PK get saved, you have the Guilherme header that should have been a goal, very easily could have been I shouldn't say should have. And then you have this attempt as well, but still the crowd's into it. They're invested, and the team, to their credit, obviously, if you had quit after giving up one goal in the 17th minute, that would be an embarrassment. But they're very much on the front foot here.
So you get 5 minutes of first half stoppage time given, and right as that number is shown, Austin once again in possession. You see Mikael Dessler play Osman, who's checking back here near midfield, and Buka slips it centrally to Ilie, and then he takes off up that right sideline looking for a little give and go. Ilie takes a touch forward, and then Tagseth closes down. He nearly loses it on a challenge. It looked like to me in the moment that Ilie was a little bit in between, serving it right back to Osman, or doing what he does next, which is before Tagseth can get there, Sanchez able to squeak this pass away in the direction of Mirtu Uzuni, and it ends up dropping perfectly into Mirtu's path, and Uzuni lets it bounce once, takes a peek up at Schwacke, and is able to 5-hole him to equalize right before the half, and going nuts, man, of course. Nuts. And you actually, if you look at the rewatch, you can see us fucking screaming. You're hugging P, Mike. I let out a, classic white guy. Let's go. It was great, though, man. It was awesome. It was
fantastic. And, Jose had just showed up, and he's like, don't worry about that Mirtu missed PK. He's going to get it back. I promise you. Yeah. And he did. And again, this had been building this entire time here for this first half. And Austin's not done. You still have some more chances here before the half blows, which I think we could have done better with.
Yeah. Yeah, no question. And you think about it, again, even in the loss, I love seeing Mirtu finish that because the entire first half of the season was him getting chances like that and biffing them. And, again, now you have, I don't know, I was telling everybody who would listen at halftime that I think we're in a great spot here, right where we want to be. And like you said, we're not done. In the 4th minute of stoppage, Diego Rubio wins a corner. We play that one short to Danny. Danny lofts it into the mixer. Schwacke comes out to try to punch. He misses it. And that leaves the ball for Julio Cascante to nod towards net. And it ends up going just wide. He's arguing a corner in the moment and is very upset. And when you see that replay, it sure looks like he's right, that it deflects off of Palacio there. So Austin should have had another corner, but you can add that to the list of grievances we had with the officials and the video review last night.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this is one of the reasons why Julio got the start last night, because we know he's much better in the box and in the air than spot dog. He's much better in the box there. So I thought, again, game of inches, man, and like so many of these opportunities are so close. And we haven't, we obviously the podcast is about Austin. We're going to talk about our opportunities and our chances, but Nashville has generated nothing, y'all, after their first goal. Absolutely nothing.
And nothing before it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you could have been up 3-1 here. And I agree with you. I do think 1-1 going into the half, having home field advantage. We talked about Nashville's struggles on the road and the fact that Austin has only lost very few games at home this season. I thought we were going to be in a great spot. And I do think that continues up until the 60th minute when they get their PK. But, man, Julio can make these. Like, this is not some sort of aberration.
Seen it before.
Yes, he can score these. And sometimes it's just not your night.
Well, I just have to add to the list of grievances, which, like, are we put in a bad spot as fans, not just us, but everybody, to like, okay, well, we have this kind of landmark thing that U.S. Soccer or the Open Cup or whatever account it was posting about, this is the first all-female crew, right, for the U.S. Open Cup final. And then I feel like I'm having to go up against thoughts about that when I just think it was a terrible night for the entire crew. And for Penso to blow the whistle here on the first half, right as Danny intercepts the ball 20 yards from net. It was a bad job. And again, like I was looking like an asshole because we're driving to the stadium. I'm telling you guys, Tori Penso is one of my favorite refs that we've seen in MLS. And clearly she has the resume. Yeah. And it, just like a player or a coach, the officials can have a bad night too. And it's very clear. I don't think I posted robbed on our accounts last night. Very, very emotional response. I could make an argument for that, but that's not what I'm going to say here. I don't think the officiating dictated the outcome of this game, but I think the officiating was poor for both sides, and it certainly felt like it was worse in our direction in the emotional state of the moment. I'm all for having a referee like Penso be in these games. We've liked her before reffing for us.
I'm all for it. I'm all for having women reffing these games, being a part of this. I love it. But if you're bad on that night, you did a bad job, and they were bad last night. And this is you've decided in your mind already that you're going to blow the whistle despite what is taking place on the field. Like this, she had already made her mind up that she was going to end this half and we we're going to be done with it. You got the ball right outside the 18 here with a chance to do something. And like the fact that, this just gets blown dead is ridiculous to me. And she was really poor last night. And I saw plenty of Nashville fans complaining about how terrible she was last night because she was objectively bad last night. If you get booed off the field, man, by Austin fans, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like at the end of the game, you get booed off the field and you got, 15,000 people chanting, "Ref, you suck."
Over La Murga, which is hard to do.
Yeah, I think you did a bad job. You know what I mean? Like, of course, there's all, we're not professional refs. We don't have the game, obviously the resume, which she does. But like, good Lord, man, you piss poor last night. And it just sucks when something like this is on the line. And I'm with you. Austin had every opportunity to win this game despite the refereeing, and they didn't get the job done. But to your point earlier that I kind of pushed back on about, a neutral fan being a fan of this, the refereeing was shit, and that's part of the game. You know what I mean? Like if I'm watching the game and the refs are just objectively bad, it impacts the way I feel about it.
Yeah, for sure. That's fair. And somewhere fucking dickhead Claudio Reyna is just smirking about all this.
Oh, well, that's good.
So coming out of the half, no changes for either side. Ilie, yellow card for a tactical foul here to stop a breakaway. Professional foul. Yep. No issue with that call on this night. But here in the 56th minute, it was Hanny winning a corner. And as Mukhtar lines up in that northeast corner to take that set piece, Penso halts play here to break up Palacio, Danny, and Maher there, who are all jousting there in the box. Like Danny might have put his head into Palacio's chest there for a second to try to move him. It's a significant size difference between those two guys.
Significant size difference, which should be noted now before we have to talk about it a little later.
Well, and so I didn't see this in the moment, but you see it on the replay. It ends up being Tagsith that takes this corner and not Mukhtar once the whistle is blown to put this one in play. And as he does, Palacios and Danny get tangled up again, and there is contact made by both players. Mm-hmm. Danny does have his hands around Palacios. But to me, this Nashville center back goes down way too easy. And I think Danny has a point in the post-game comments where he's like, that happens on every corner. And I think that's pretty, like there is jostling like that on the majority of corners. And dude, I feel like 99 times out of 100, any contact in the box is just blown for an offensive foul, and we go the other way. So again, I think it's fair to question this one. I think it's fair if you're a Nashville fan and you didn't get the call. I think you could be complaining about that too. So maybe this wasn't as clear cut as the first one, where you and I both think that was a pretty tough call to make as well. But either way, it gets called, it gets reviewed. They're VAR, of course. If they don't overturn that first one, they're not overturning this one where there's clearer contact there. Surridge steps up, man, sends Brad the wrong way. Nashville retakes the lead. And look, you still have a half hour, though. Yep. Again, this did not decide the game.
No, it did not decide the game. It's, in my opinion, just the way I felt about, the first one. I think this is a bad call. The physicality is taken to another level in championship games, and to be calling ticky-tack PKs that are so impactful on a game just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And like we talked, like you said here, like this happens on every corner kick. I've never, not that I've watched every soccer game, and I know it has happened
right.
throughout the course of time. I personally have never seen a call like this get rewarded with a PK. Most of the time, the center backs just start running back on defense because they got to get back. How many times have we seen Julio do something like this where it's like, there's all kinds of contact, someone goes down,
breathes on somebody, sprint back,
and just get back on defense. And I think it's a bad call, man. I really do think it's a bad call. And like, this is where it has now compounded itself with the first half debacle of calling that play dead. And now you have this, and Surridge, does his job. Mirtu did not do his job on the PK attempt. So tough, man. But you still had plenty of time here.
Plenty.
And I say, before we jumped on, we're chatting a little bit. I do think, to Nashville's credit, you do get the two earlier subs for some more fresh legs on the defensive side of the ball, and they did pull back a little bit. They started to bunker a little bit more.
61st minute here is it. Yellow card to Cascante for a foul on Surridge in the midfield. That definitely a yellow there, trying to stop the break, pulling him back. But in the 62nd minute, this is where my blood started. What's that?
What's the yellow card count at this point? Right? They have not seen one.
Yeah, 3-0 there.
They have not seen a single yellow card, and we have seen all kinds of physicality from Nashville as well.
What about Rubio getting kicked in the fucking midsection earlier? Yep. And this is where my blood starts to boil on the rewatch this morning, because in the 62nd, this is absolutely nuts that there's no call on Patrick Yazbek here pulling Danny down. Basically flips him over away from the ball.
Yeah.
And if you're going to call that fucking penalty 5 minutes earlier, then this is not only a foul, but an yellow card. Easy.
Card. Yep.
And this is where the ref you suck chants start to break out over the music that's being played in the stadium. And Nico is about as mad as I've ever seen him on the bench. And for good fucking reason. And the fucking linesman is right there.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
And that's the point about the entire crew being shit last night. And there wasn't as many egregious calls by the lines judges here, but good Lord.
It's an egregious no call. You're there. Raise your fucking flag.
Nuts. Absolutely nuts. And like, for that to happen to Danny here, glad he kept his cool, man, because like, to give up the PK and then just have this insane no call take place is rough. And I couldn't have been too upset at him if he really lost his top here, because this is shit, man. This is what, again, the consistency is what most of the time most people are looking for, is the consistency. Are you calling it tight, or are we letting these guys fucking play? And like, this crosses past letting them play and like goes into, this is a blatant yellow card, which they still have not received one up until this point. And we have, now conceded this PK, which was very, very soft. I mean, the guy flops. It's a flop, you know? So this is where it starts to get really bad. And, I'm not a big ref you suck guy chant. It's not really my jam. I think it's kind of corny because people just bust it out all the time when calls don't really go their way. But like, it's bad, man. Really bad.
Well, maybe the chants start to wake them up here, because Maher does get a yellow here for a challenge on Azuni in the 66th minute. And then that double change that you mentioned in the 68th, Walker Zimmerman and Josh Bauer in for Andy Nahar and Jessen Palacios. 73rd minute here, of course, Austin pushing numbers forward, trying to find a second equalizer on the night. And you've got another combination between Book and Dessler here to create some space on the right. And Osman able to create space for himself just individually here. And he rips a shot, again, towards that near post, but to the top corner, which was open. And I think Schwacke does well here to get his mitts up and deflect it out for a corner. Like, that was I thought, a quality shot for the angle he had, and especially relative to some of the attempts we've seen him have over the course of his tenure here with the team. But Schwacke was good on the night, man. He held his own back there.
He was very good last night. He really was. You get the PK save. Obviously, that was huge. I think he commanded the box pretty well. You start to see it in the second half here. Austin obviously whipping a lot of balls into dangerous areas, trying to generate something. He's coming out and commanding that zone and going up and getting the rock. But, again, I'm still a bit confused about why he's in there, but I guess he showed it last night, you know what I mean? Like, to his credit.
So 77th minute is where you get the first change for Austin. It is CJ Fodre in for Diego Rubio. And here's where, again, I don't think I have any problem with the changes we saw coming into this one. Outside of the fact that now that you're down, John Kolmanich would have been nice to bring in here, I think.
I agree. Absolutely.
And so that's maybe my one complaint with the way we set things up last night, because that was an adjustment we couldn't make because we didn't bring Big Tex along with us. And how many times has he maybe not gotten you that equalizer or that winner that you're looking for, which he has done plenty. But he's always going to serve dangerous balls in there, man. And we didn't have a ton of that through the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, you really just kind of like took one of your cards to play out of your own hand here. And like, not saying that Kolmanich is going to come in and get the job done here. We're absolutely going to score. But I do think the combination of the way that Kolmanich plays balls into the box with the lethality of CJ in the air is a nice 1-2 punch to have, particularly when you're chasing a goal here. Did you think the subs were a little late? I've seen a lot of chatter about that, about like trying to get guys earlier here and everything. And, I disagree personally, because I think we had our best players out there last night. And I think we had played well up until this point. And, we were the better team in the first half. And I do think that we were the better team the majority of the game last night. And once we get to the stats, I think that's going to be reflected there. But I did see a lot of chatter about people saying, why weren't the subs brought on earlier here? And, riding that CJ Fodre hot streak, yeah, that's one thing for sure. I'm not expecting game-winning goals out of the kid every single night, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's where maybe some parts of the fan base need to recalibrate the game-to-game expectations, because that's the heater of a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
And it's been great, and it has it's established a new baseline for number 19, I think, right? But like I think it's low-hanging fruit to go after the sub pattern last night, because also like what are we gonna do? CJ 5 minutes earlier, okay, maybe. right? There's no guarantee that changes anything. I don't think Diego, it didn't look like to me up until the point he was subbed out that Diego was out there sucking wind or anything.
Mm-hmm.
We certainly want to have Dessler out there as long as he can possibly go in this match. He goes 84, which is a little bit longer than I expected, about 60, 65 out of him. And then, maybe Obi comes on for Ilie a little bit sooner, but if you've been listening to the North End podcast, we're not expecting Obrian to go out there and do anything of consequence here this year. It's just you haven't done it.
Nope. And I
feel like we're nitpicking.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, because it happens that we do it. Everyone does it. You're trying to find something because everyone wants to win, obviously. But I'm just the Robbie Taylor experiment has sucked. Yep. It has been terrible. Again, I'm sticking to my guns now where if you can't beat Hyder Obrian out to play, you're not good.
Sure. The 80th minute, another double change here for Nashville. Brugman and Acosta in for Yazbek and Schaffelberg. 83rd minute, Owens fouled by Muyl just outside that top left corner of the 18. And he ends up standing over it. Takes a shot trying to sneak it in near a post, but Schwatke more than ready for that one. And after that free kick is corralled by Schwatke, we get Gallagher in for Dessler and Obrian in for Ilie. Also a yellow card to Bauer in the next minute for time wasting, which I was surprised that yellow was shown, and Schwatke made it out unscathed because there were some times that Schwatke was 16, 17 seconds, it felt like, and it's supposed to be 6. Usually you get a little bit of buffer around that, but I don't know, some of the time again, we would have done the same thing and cheered it on. But again, it's the responsibility of those officials to keep guys in line and keep the game moving. And I thought that was a little bit lackluster as well.
Yeah, this is really when some Nashville gamesmanship shows up here, and we've seen all kinds of stuff in this Open Cup tournament all season long with this, with players time wasting, or insufficient calls, poor refereeing. It's been an aspect of this tournament the entire time.
86th minute, here's Lovitz kicking Buka in the back of the leg near the sideline. It knocks the ball out of play. No foul called. Everyone in Verde and Black is upset about it. And Buka looked shocked that he didn't get the whistle. And he doesn't, he's not that demonstrative with his emotions all the time. So, again, that frustration just continued to mount with the officiating. And that obviously did not play into our favor. Being the more frustrated side, and Nashville kind of continued to up their shithousery. We get 6 minutes of stoppage in the second half here. That felt a little light, but one of the, that's not high on my list of complaints from last night was the 6 minutes given. You get yellow cards to both Surridge and Owen here after Surridge two-hand shoves Gallagher in the back away from the ball, and then I guess advantage is played here until the ball comes to Surridge and Owen near the fourth official there, and like Wolf trips up Surridge, like he gets a yellow for that. Like, I don't know, man. Mukhtar gets in front of Stuver to delay the free kick.
Yep. And
fucking Penso makes him back up. So because we played advantage, then the free kick was further away from where the first foul was called. That just spirit of the fucking game, man. That doesn't seem right.
Yeah, no, and this is when Surridge really ramped it up with his shit housing, because this is I am almost 95% sure she was not going to call a foul on Surridge here. The judge, the ref, I don't know.
The fourth official?
Yes. He has to point Surridge out to her and be like, no, you got to get him first, because Owen takes his frustration foul, because I'm pretty sure there was not going to be a foul called on Surridge here, even though he clearly blasts Johnny in the back.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, that on that foul, you stop it dead there. Give him the yellow and give us the free kick right away.
It's a yellow card. And to your point, right, or the 6 minutes here, with the amount of stuff that is now happening, you have to extend this game farther because of the time wasting, the shit housing, the fouls that are being called now. Like, she was not going to give a card to Surridge, and that is why Surridge is so confused when he gets this second one coming up here and gets shown the red, because he wasn't even aware that he got booked the first time. He did not know.
Really? I didn't know that.
He did not know.
Huh. 5th minute of stoppage, final change for Nashville, Bunbury in for Mukhtar, and then it is here in the 6th minute, like you mentioned. Surge goes, we have a goal kick. Stuver rolls the ball out there. Surge goes over and just kicks that ball out of bounds, which again is like, that's some shit housery I can appreciate, especially the further away we get from this game. Like just straight up going in there asking for a card. And you, I think in the moment go, he just got kicked out on purpose. And I think it makes much more sense to me now that your explanation here today after watching the replay and saying like he wasn't really aware that he was already on a yellow because of the confusion a few moments earlier. So this does extend slightly beyond the 6 minutes given, which of course it should because of all the stoppages we just had with them fucking around. So last chance here for the home team, and Danny boots it long. Guilherme's able to head it down to Julio, and Julio pings it back to Osman, who tries to dance through like 4 defenders and does create space for a shot here. But fucking Maher, dude, again, slides in to block it. And then the last piece of bad luck for us on the night is that shot that gets blocked then deflects off of Mirtu and out over the end line for a goal kick. And the final whistle blows. 2-1 loss. And again, that's where all the emotions start coming out.
Yep, for sure. And again, I want to reiterate, Austin did not lose this game because of the refereeing. The refereeing was terrible. It was really, really bad last night. And I think Austin deserved, I think he at least deserved to be a 2-2 going into extra time in this game. I really do.
Well, you could have been. Make your PK.
Yeah, absolutely. Finish your chances for sure. But again, I do think that for the majority of the 90-plus minutes that were played last night, I do think Austin was the better team, and I do salute the guys for battling through some terrible officiating to deal with the frustrations of that and to really leave it all out there on the pitch. And sometimes it just doesn't go your way, and it's just not your night. And last night was not our night. And kudos to Nashville. They're a very good team. They have a lot of talented players. I was very impressed with Nahar last night. He comes up with this really big defensive effort here, as you just mentioned. I thought Yazbak was good as well. Obviously, you get Mukhtar and Surge, the 2 guys who account for the most goals. I'm pretty sure they account for the most goals percentage-wise for their team in MLS. If not, they're at the on a short list there. And those were the 2 guys we said we needed to stop and corral. And for the most part, you handled Surge, but the soft PK really hurt.
54% possession for Austin at the end of this one. It was 16 shots to 7 for Austin and 8 shots on target to 2, also in favor of the home team. Austin created 3 big chances on FOTMob's model, missed 2 of them, 6 corners to 4 for Austin. 12 of those 16 Austin shots were inside the Nashville penalty area, and 24 touches to 12 for Austin inside the opposing box. So like you said earlier, right, the stats, what I'll point you to, if you don't show me the final score, and I see this, I'm feeling pretty good.
Absolutely. And, to the coaching staff's credit, the game plan generated the chances that we needed to get the job done. And you just weren't able to finish those opportunities. And again, as I said at the top here, just heartbroken for these guys. They wanted it bad. Mirtu in tears, man, that really hurt. That really hurt to see. And for someone who I think is totally invested in the success of this club, I know Mirtu is really hurting today.
That's what got me, man. Cry guy number 2. First time sad cry for Austin.
Oh, shit, you cried last night?
Yeah, you didn't see that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah, dude. When I was sitting there, when I was watching those guys start to break down, watching Nashville get the trophy.
I'm pretty sure I was just chanting Tori Penso.
Yeah, you and Brian. Brian wondering how big the Tori Penso statue is going to be in Nashville. Yeah, man. No, I was shedding some tears for sure. I think it was obviously how much we care about this team and those guys. Watching them, overcome with their emotion got to me. And kind of like I mentioned a little earlier, right? Like being there at a much lower stage myself in like conference championships and things like that, and having to go through that, like brought back some of those feelings. So like, can commiserate with those guys and empathize with those guys and what they were going through. And it got to me, that, and the fact of like thinking like, man, maybe this is the only time I get to see this, at the Q. But, and the guys obviously were hurt post match.
Yep.
Moises and Phil from Verde All Day got in there talking to these guys. Danny said kind of what we were saying earlier. Danny says it happens every corner. We were both grabbing each other. It happens every corner.
Every corner.
John Gallagher was a little bit more demonstrative, saying, how much can I say without getting fined?
Good on you, Johnny.
And he says, I've seen the decision. I don't know how much I can say without being fined, but I think we've got to have honest reflection about that. It's a final. It doesn't really matter how you play. It's about winning the game. But when I see the decision that was made to win the game, and then Phil writing that he just made a sound after that. But Stuver had a little bit of a different perspective at that point of the night. He said, there's not one situation that's going to make or break our game, whether it's soft or not. I haven't seen it back, but like I was telling these guys, I don't know if ours was a PK either. He said, I watched that Mirtu one back on the video screen, and as a goalkeeper, it looks like Schwatke gets a little bit of a touch. So it doesn't matter what the calls are on the field. We need to be able to put that game away a little bit earlier. For us, it's a learning moment. They lost the final in Leagues Cup, right, in 2023. So they knew what the final was going to be about. For us, this is a learning moment for a young club, and we'll utilize it going forward. And I think that's it's a very mature perspective. It's a calm perspective. And that is the type of attitude that we need to be the prominent one in that locker room, because we aren't done, man.
Yeah,
we got a playoff chase, and we can clinch this Saturday.
Yes.
So the pain of this will remain, but we can start to, again, look forward to move past it, starting this Saturday.
And I mean, this just encapsulates sports really well. It's a heartbreak, a tragedy. It feels like the world is over and ending when you drop a game like this, but then you have an opportunity to bounce back and do some stuff. And to Stuver's credit, that's all you can do. You have to learn from this. You have to move on. You have to grow from it. We are a young club. This is obviously our first opportunity to win some silverware, and I know those guys wanted it bad. I liked Nico's quotes too, man. I think the refereeing impacted the game. It wasn't the final decision-making that resulted in a 2-1 loss here for Austin. But when you have multiple guys, particularly usually level-headed, calm people like Nico and Johnny, to his credit, talking about this, something's going on. I'm again heartbroken for these guys, but you got to bounce back versus the St. Louis team. And I might pull the damn lever on this, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, shit. We'll talk about it here in a second and jump into St. Louis. And I think we can probably reflect more on this once this season is done. Hopefully that's 2 months from now, But I think it's fair. Is it fair to say, like, we're overwhelmingly likely still to be a top 7 team here and avoid the wild card. And if you would have told me, I can say this with confidence, you would have told me at the beginning of the season, if you would have told me in fucking March or May, rather, I would have told you you're crazy that we're sitting here at the beginning of October hosting the final, about to, unless the worst possible thing happens. We have less than a 1% chance to drop out of the top 9, right?
Yeah.
You could probably get 0 points, and just other teams cannibalizing each other would get us to a postseason game. But you have exceeded, I think, the baseline expectation, which was just playoffs, right? Which should be the expectation every year. But I guess I'm dancing around the idea that I'm still very, very excited for the future of this team.
Yeah.
And that I expect them to continue to improve year over year, window over window. And I think Brad made a great point that this is something that we talked about 2 weeks ago, right after Brad's extension. that there are 14 players, all of whom, outside of like Micah Burton, I think you feel pretty good about being a part of the core of this team going forward. And not that I don't feel good about Micah, we just haven't seen him at the first team level. That group can take this and use it not only as a lesson, but as fuel.
Yeah.
The rest of this season, next year, whether you're, if they run out the same stuff here, maybe you're in Leagues Cup and not Open Cup next year. There's also the World Cup, so who knows what kind of external competitions we're going to have or what they look like. But ultimately, this Open Cup run and experience, I think for fans too, at least crazies, sickos like you and I, like this is it. I wouldn't have traded that experience, right? I would have obviously rather won the whole thing, but it was more than I expected, and I'm definitely grateful for the ride we were just taking on, from fucking booing these assholes in May to beating the shit out of Houston, which is great, to the lows of Brandon's injury and the highs an hour later of squeaking that out in PKs, to CJ's heroics.
Yep.
And to last night, it was a spectacle, man, and it didn't go our way, but I think as a club and a city, I think we did ourselves proud last night, even in the loss.
Yeah, no, it was a hell of a ride, this Open Cup, for sure. And again, I do think if we're looking at some positives here, right? We talked about, I believe it was last episode or after the Brad, like you said, the Brad extension there, where we looked at the core guys going forward and feeling really good about shaping the team around those players. I also think that we have good, sound veteran leadership in that locker room for the younger guys who are going to be able to rely on. You talk about, like, Ilya Sanchez, who has won cups and championships in this league, being a voice of reason here. I think Diego as well, with his experience. Brad, his rise to being a star, an all-star in this league. So I do think that we have the guys who are going to be able to pick us up and be like, we got to move on from this. We got to learn from this, and we got to get better, because, this is the level that we want to be at. So I'm definitely grateful as well for what these guys put out there from top to bottom, rotating in this cup as well, and seeing a lot of different guys get out there and play and contribute. So I hope they take today to, just reflect, and then you're back to work.
Anything else for you on this one? All right, let's talk St. Louis, because again, right about 48 hours from now, we will be back at the Q hosting what is now lowly St. Louis City. We didn't necessarily feel that way about them when these teams first met this season, all the way back on March 30th in St. Louis. That ended up being a 1-0 win for Austin FC behind Mirtu Azuni's first Austin FC goal in the 33rd minute. That was the icy everything game. Mikel Dessler was hurt already in that one. I think it might have been the previous match that he went down. So you did have John Gallagher in at right back. Besard Savage started over Ilya Sanchez in that game. And Sabo also, cheeky back heel to free BV up for a very clear goal scoring chance that got saved by Berkey. But that was a little Sabovich sauce that gave me this guy does have something, right? There was something good to see there on film. And that game was also one that you saw out after a lengthy lightning delay in the middle of the first half. This St. Louis team, right? Obviously, they took a downturn after that. I think they went their first 4 unbeaten. They lost to Philly, then they lost to Ush, which started them on their downward slide that they still really haven't pulled out of. Right? We remember Lumberjack Olaf Melberg, who was the new head coach. They let him go at the halfway point, dude. 3-5-9 record was good enough to get him run. And then they elevated David Critchley, who is still the interim head coach here for St. Louis City. He was the second team's head coach for all of 11 games before being elevated to the first team position. And again, it has not gotten better here in the second half of the season. Critchley has coached this team 17 games now. 16 games, but 17 points from those matches. Overall, this team, 7 wins, 7 draws, 18 losses, just 28 points this season. Not eliminated from the wooden spoon race here yet, 39 goals for, 55 against. What they are eliminated from is playoff contention. So even after they put together a 3-game unbeaten streak at the beginning of September, a draw against Dallas, which was that crazy game where they put up 40-plus shots and only got the 1 goal. They did then go on the road and beat Montreal, which we know they suck, but we couldn't do that.
Yep.
And they also beat San Jose on the road, which I think that is a good win on that shit pitch with the craziness that the Quakes bring to every match. So again, that was the first run of 3 unbeaten since their 4-game streak to open the season. But like I mentioned, officially eliminated last Saturday with the 3-0 loss against LAFC. And to illustrate, with just using one stat, how one-sided that game was, field tilt, 71-29 LAFC in that one. And of course, the LAFC counterattack is much more deadly than Austin's has ever been with their current personnel. But they were able to strike quickly against St. Louis when they turned them over. So maybe we'll see Austin trying to do the same no matter who runs out there. What do you remember about this St. Louis team from earlier in the season?
Oh man, I was driving back from New York after picking up my brother to move him down.
Oh, that's right.
I was in the truck there watching that game on the phone as we traveled. Like you said, them starting out with that 4-game unbeaten streak, and having, we're tied to this team. I don't know if I consider them necessarily rivals, but like we're very much tied to this club. Obviously hosting their first ever match, the debacle that took place with all of that, them shooting up to the stars that first season, being in control of first place, I believe, for the majority of that year, and then fizzling out in the first round of the playoffs. And it has been an unceremonious fall from grace for this team, going forward since that point in time. I still point to some of the quality players that they have on their team that I do think are opponents to respect, with your Marcel Hertels, your João Klauses, your Edward Luvens, obviously Cecilio Pompeo, who I think is a very good player as well in his own right. Like, they have some guys that I think are above level talents. Roman Berkey, obviously, in the net was great for years there with them. Hasn't been too great this season, but another quality player. And it's just so funny because they came in, right? They come up, they shoot to first place. They had brought in all these Bundesliga guys, and had they found the translation from the Bundesliga to MLS and kind of cracked the code on how this is going to look. And the things I remember from that game, I do remember, I think it was Savovic's best game. I really,
yeah, you might be right.
I think it was his best game, and us perking up and being like, oh, we got something here, and obviously that hasn't gone the way that we have expected it as of late. But
hey, our most recent goal scorer in the league.
There we go. They're going to be playing free here. You're playing for pride at this point. Obviously, you don't want to be in the wooden spoon contention, but they have some guys who are talented, and João Klaus has burned us before, and he scares me. He's a good player.
Well, and the league did release the updated roster sheets here after the roster freeze date earlier in September. So some of the changes that this team made in the summer window, they did bring in 2 U22 guys, right? This is a 2-4 build. They brought in Senegalese center back Fallou Fall on a U22 deal. They also trade. What's that?
6'4".
Oh yeah, no, he's a body.
Yeah, he's a body. Big guy.
Sangbin Jong, right, from the Loons, who had done damage to us before with Minnesota. He got traded from Minnesota to St. Louis, staying on that U22 deal, as you can see if you're watching here on the YouTube. The Loons also weren't done with their business here with St. Louis. They loaned their homegrown left back, Devin Paddleford, to St. Louis for the remainder of the season, right? Fitting in, young homegrown left back there, fitting into the very restrictive loan rules here about intra-league loans in MLS, right? They have to be under 24 years of age, if I recall correctly. So Paddleford has been getting time with this St. Louis team. They also exercised the purchase option on Simon Betcher, right? Young forward there from AC Horsens, who's been back and forth between a couple MLS teams and over there in Europe. And of course, if you've been listening to the North End week in and week out, you know that I've had my eyes on their call up of Brendan McSorley. A couple other St. Louis 2 guys have also made their way up to getting minutes with their first team. And you kind of touched on it a minute ago, right? We talked about the coaching change. Late in August, man, they fired sporting director Luch Pfannenstiel, who was a character, man. He was always a fun interview to listen to, but you were hinting at this. Turns out Manuel Veth, little bit wrong, just incorrect when he said a couple years ago that Luch Pfannenstiel had, quote, figured out MLS.
Yeah, no, that one did not go as intended. And I don't know if there's too much to pull away from this first matchup with the St. Louis team. Obviously, both of these teams were very different from that point in time to where they're at now. But St. Louis City was playing a very distinct style of soccer at that point in time with Melberg that I don't think has carried over to the new coaching staff and the new regime in there. But they really struggle on the defensive side of the ball. They're sloppy in the back. Most penalties conceded in the league right now, sitting on 9. They're performing their XG pretty much exactly 56 XG conceded to 55 goals on the year. They're in the bottom 5 in goals conceded this season. So that ultra defensive look that Melberg was looking for didn't pan out. It has not gone obviously it didn't go as planned. The man got fired very fast, but they're sloppy in the back. I do want to see what the Fall kid has. Obviously a big body, a U22 kind of talent. I do think they're going to get like your boy McSorley there. They're going to have some of these younger guys getting time. You want to see what you're going to be able to get out of them. And that to me presents a team that doesn't have a lot of pressure on them. So you're going to have to handle your business here. And this is just as classic of a trap game as it gets. Like this is trap game written all fucking over it. You're at home. I don't think you're going to get a lot of attendance after this Wednesday night game, this weekend. If I had to bet my money on it, I don't think it's going to be as popping as it has been as of late with the success that this team has had. Sure. So that's another thing. Obviously, the emotional letdown of losing that championship game, now having to bounce back, play in this matchup. No Guilherme Biru, of course. I think you're going to see significant rotation with Dessler going 84 last night. Ilya, I believe, was in the 80s as well, or close to it. So I don't think either of those guys are going to be on the starting lineup. I'd be surprised. Maybe not surprised, but I'd be concerned that you're not going to get any minutes out of Dessler tomorrow, on Saturday. And then obviously Komanich slotting in there. We've had some call-ups too, right? Are those in which games are that's going to impact? That's the LAFC game.
That'll be LAFC next weekend. We also got finishing up on St. Louis. We did get their interim coach Critchley had a media availability today, so both Henry Kessler and Falu Fall, right? Both center backs there. We talked about Fall. Both of them have been injured or taken, slight knocks of late. Both of them were in training and should be available on Saturday, barring setbacks on Friday. Edward Leuven, who you mentioned, who I think is one of the most offensively gifted sixes in the league. Like, where's the 10 for them? But he's huge for a defensive midfielder, strong, moves well for his size out there. And his free kick takes are really dangerous.
Rocket foot.
So he was not at training today for St. Louis due to personal reasons. Reportedly, they will be deciding on his status in the morning. So we may see that news come across before the official injury reports drop on Friday. I would love for them to be missing Leuven again. And I don't know what, I'm sure some St. Louis folks could tell us what really is going on with him, because Leuven has missed a lot of time due to injury and or personal reasons over the last 2.5 years. So I'm not sure what he's got going on there. Also, Tomas Totland, who I think is their kind of first choice right back when everything is, hunky-dory for St. Louis. He's expected to start tomorrow after coming off the bench last game. And then, of course, they're also, because they're eliminated, half of this press conference was also questions more about the offseason and what about this guy's option or an extension for that guy. And so kind of to your point, as we fully shift to talk about Austin here, this is a team that doesn't have anything to lose.
Yeah.
They have already lost.
Yes.
And so I think the most dangerous guys are the ones that are maybe here on loan, trying to prove things to either St. Louis or their home team, so to speak, the team they're coming from. Guys on options, guys on expiring deals. Like, these guys have all of the personal motivation in the world to come out here and give us hell for 90 minutes. And lining that up with, like you said, the emotional toll, not just the physical toll, because our guys went out there and busted their ass too for 90 minutes. The emotional toll combined with the physical toll, I do not envy those guys trying to have to go out here and muster the strength to battle a team that's going to come in and, really probably play like some assholes because they don't have anything to lose.
They should be playing free. But I mean, you have everything to gain here. You can lock this position up in the playoffs. You can clinch it. You can handle your business. And then you can worry about dealing with the absolute juggernaut that LAFC has become at this point in time. But like I said, classic trap game here. You're going to have to come out strong. I think you're going to need a little time to feel out what St. Louis is playing like, if they're playing super ultra free. But again, they really struggle on the defensive side of the ball. And, if they're going to get a whole lot of contributions out of these U22 guys back there, then great. If you're relying on that, then we'll see how that plays out for you. But you're the better team on paper. You're the better team on the pitch with the talent level that you do have there. And you have something to play for here. So as demoralizing as it has been over the last 24 hours for everyone in that locker room and everyone in that organization, you have to find a way to put it in the rear view and seize the opportunity you have before you and take this game at face value. A team that nothing to lose, you got to put them away early. So again, another team that is this the last team in the Western Conference we haven't beaten at home, correct? So another opportunity there. I'll always want to get back on these MFs for the Kip Keller game and destroying that poor man's career.
Yeah.
the Pompeu deflected goal, the 6-3 ass whooping they put on us when we went back to St. Louis that one season. So there's a lot. Like I said, these teams are very much tied, with their histories here. But for us, man, it's all about us. It's all about us. Everything that you have that you want, obviously the cup is now gone. It's out of the picture. Now you're focused on the playoffs here. So here's the first step into righting this ship, because you brought it up earlier. You could limp into the playoffs without securing any points from these last 3 games, but that is not good vibes. That is not how you want to be entering a playoff with a 4-game losing streak, a 5-game losing streak here. So here we go. And we got enough guys who are young enough. You're going to be able to run out there that will still have the quality to beat this team.
Yeah, nice little mind meld there. As soon as you said last team we need to beat at home here in the Western Conference, I was literally reading those words here in my notes. So it would be nice to check the final team here in the Western Conference off our list out of the teams we have beat at Q2 Stadium. And you also, of course, right, we look at the table. Very simple clinching scenario for the 6th seed this weekend. You beat St. Louis at home, and the Timbers lose to the Sounders, which sounds like perfectly plausible to me.
Yep, absolutely.
But I also look at this table, and I'm pretty confident that LAFC is going to pass Minnesota United 2 points behind with 2 games in hand and 4 straight wins to their name. So 3-6 against LAFC does not feel great. But again, let's just win, clinch, and then we'll let the chips fall where they may and deal with our first round opponent when it happens. And no matter what, if you win on Sunday, you clinch at least the 7 seed. So a win clinches top 7, put the wild card in the rear view. And I think that is our big focus, man. This is the easiest game on paper remaining on the 3-game schedule that we have left. Now, once we get to LAFC next weekend, if they're missing Buwanga and Son, maybe we can have a conversation about how that game gets a little bit easier, but very simple, man. And not only to clinch, but like I said earlier, to bounce back and get the morale pointed upward once again around this team headed into the final weeks of the season.
Yep. And that you got to focus on the moment. You got to focus on the moment and the opponent that is in front of you here. So you want to chat about like potential lineup stuff that you're looking at or anything like that?
I mean, I think most of what you touched on earlier is like what I think we can guarantee, right? It's going to be Kolmanich, and you hope he's ready to go 90. I also agree with you that I think it would be beneficial if Mikel has any sort of tightness remaining in that hip, that you start Galley and potentially don't even see Dessler. Mm-hmm. Of course, if he's good to go, let's roll one of our best players out there.
Yep.
Would not be surprised to see us go back to the 5-back again as purely a rotation mechanism to get one of those midfielders or forwards who went close to or the full 90 on Wednesday night. And we know that we had 2 center backs that we feel just fine about in Djordjevic and Svatok. Maybe you get Julio rest, maybe you get Heinzike rest, but I think a return to that 5-back look may be in the cards, just because with the limited options that you feel great about on the bench, I think that's just a not creative way, I think a simple way to get some fresh legs in there while maintaining the look that we've run with and been successful with for the most part over the last month of the season until last night. So again, if Book can go, if Mirtu can go, if any of those guys that started last night, if the high performance staff says those guys are good to start and play 60, 70, maybe even more than that, yes, roll them out there. We need this win. But I'm also, again, I'm expecting some sort of rotation because there's just, it just feels natural to me that those guys, like their fitness reports or whatever you get from those little trackers they wear, is going to tell you these guys are more beat up today than after the typical game.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, the adrenaline, the emotion that goes into the championship game, it impacts your body for sure. I mean, I think you got to rotate Julio here. He's got 390 minutes of his last 4 games out of his 726 total minutes played all season here. So like he's been running a lot. 2 center. I think we're going to be seeing Svati and Djordjevic. If it's a 4-back, then just those 2. But if it's a 5-back, I think those 2 have to be in there. And then I'm looking at the midfield. You know, I think Ilya's moving to the bench here. Are you going Dube or are you going Stabo? You know, I don't really know. Neither option really excites me.
It might be both. You might see Danny come off the bench.
Yeah, you could. You definitely could. And then we just are so toothless without Buka and Mirtu up there, like we saw in the RSL match. Like I want to see at least one of those guys out there on the pitch, and I think I really want Mirtu to start. If he's good to go, I really want him to start because I want him to be able to get his mind off of the PK and what transpired here last night to move him in the right direction to close out this season as strong as possible. I think Owen should be good to go. And then I said Buka, of course. I would love for him to be in there and go as much as he could. But take care of your business early. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is a team. If you can
bury them early.
Yes. If you're pissed off, go bury these guys and relax. And then we can think about, seeding and LAFC and all that shit that's coming after this. But like, this is a team that you can put away and put down early. So I hope they're ready to do that. And that's going to be challenging because, I mean, we've said it 20 times at this point. The emotional letdown makes this a really big trap game. But if you're a professional, man, you got to move on from these things and be ready to roll.
Unless you have anything else to add here, E, how much is Austin FC winning by this Saturday night at the Q?
I'm going to go 3-1. I do think that they're going to come out and handle their business. I am nervous about the potential trap game, but I do think that the quality of our team versus the quality of their club will show up. If Leuven is not ready to go, that really hampers a lot of things that they want to be able to do out there. I expect a lot of the young guys for their team to play, and you should be able to beat a team like that pretty handedly. So 3-1.
Yeah, I got a 2-1. Dancing around the 3, just uncertain with what we're going to get in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
But look, man, really don't care how you get it done, boys, because any way you find to bring us 3 points, and we're into the playoffs for the second time in club history.
Come on down to Farmer Field where the champions play. Get ready for the game. It's Lost Business Day.
Decision Day edition of Last Business Day here on episode 261 of the North End Podcast. And E, we know Austin FC 2 on the road here this Sunday, 3 p.m. Central kickoff at the Town FC. That is the San Jose Earthquakes Next Pro affiliate. The Town, 14 wins, 6 draws, 7 losses, 58 goals for, and just 34 conceded. That ties them with first place St. Louis City for the best goal differential in the Western Conference of Next Pro at plus 24. All time, FCito against the Town, 1 win, 1 draw, and 2 losses. And this is another matchup of teams that have not played this season. So you only see Tacoma once, you only see the Town once. I think that has to do with those divisions that they do have built in inside the conferences, but not into the standings. The Town, as we talked about, had a double game week here, right? Had a game in hand that they had to make up. So they did lose 1-0 on the road to Tacoma Defiance last Sunday. But a win last night against Whitecaps on Wednesday clinched the second seed for them. They cannot move up or down. So I think there is certainly some potential that there's rotation for the Town here with nothing else to play for besides keeping your form. Yeah. Personnel-wise, led in scoring by number 55 striker Nanso Adimabua. 13 goals, 6 assists in his 25 appearances. Also number 80 forward Misael Rodriguez. He's a first-team supplemental. 7 goals, 7 assists in just 20 appearances. So a very productive season there for number 80 Rodriguez. And then you've got a familiar name here, midfielder number 15, Cruz Medina. When Medina was signed to the Quakes back in 2022, he was the 3rd youngest homegrown signing in league history at the time. With the Town this season, Medina, again, number 15, 7 goals, 5 assists in his 25 appearances. But also forward, number 44, Chance Cowell, Cade's brother. One of 4 other first-team off-roster homegrowns alongside Medina on this roster. Chance Cowell, 2 goals, 2 assists in his 25 appearances, just 12 starts for the younger Cowell. As you can see, though, on this preview here on FOTMob from their lineup on Wednesday, Jamar Ricketts was down there with him, right? First-team supplemental, but he's started like 11 or 12 games for the Quakes this year. Very speedy wing back there, was playing in the midfield for the Town each of the last 2 games. So we may see Ricketts down here once again, which would not help our chances, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I distinctly remember him and his speed being impactful at the first team level. Like he's definitely got some pace to him. So I would not like to see him down there. Probably rotation. I think the most important thing for them right now is staying healthy. You know, you should be in decent form. Obviously, we know the format here at Next Pro, you get to pick your opponent and everything like that. So having the second choice, I believe, they'll feel pretty good about that. But this has been a team that's been at the top of the table for the, majority of the season here. They've been a good club. You mentioned the goal differential tied with St. Louis City, who's just running away or already ran away with this thing. So you have an opportunity. You're going to need some help too, right, to pull this off.
Yep. The only way you can qualify is, there's a couple avenues here. It starts with a win. You must win against the Town here, which would take you to 41 points. Now, North Texas currently sitting in 8th on 40 points. A win would bring us into a tie in the wins tiebreaker with them. So we need North Texas to either draw, because we have a 10-goal advantage on them in the second tiebreaker of goal differential. So a North Texas loss and an Austin FC2 win would clinch. An Austin FC2 win and a North Texas draw and PK shootout loss would also qualify Austin for that 8th and final playoff spot. And I think those are the only 2 scenarios here that there are for us to get in. So again, losing 4 of your last 5 put us in a position where we no longer control our own destiny. But again, it's decision day. Eastern Conference of Next Pro, noon Central on Sunday. Western Conference, all the games at 3. So we will not just be tuned in to the FCTO match, but we will be scoreboard watching North Texas and LAFC too. And I think that will push us. We will definitely record Sunday's episode after this match finishes. And look, man, hopefully we're celebrating the double victory on the weekend.
Would love that after the low points right now. So I'm definitely pulling for that.
Well, unless you have anything else to add here on the second team preview, E, How much is the second team winning by on Sunday?
I'm going to take the classic, the 1-0. That's what
All right.
I'm going with. An
All
ugly,
right.
ugly 1-0, but you get the job done. You give yourself an opportunity to sneak into these playoffs and see what happens from there.
I'm with you, man. We'll be in lockstep. I also got a 1-0, and I think that will be in big part or in large part, rather, to Jorge Alistue returning to this lineup from his red card suspension. I think that is very hot take. The guy who's looked like the best player will make a difference. But I just think, again, and Jorge can come in here with a big performance and make up for letting his team down with that ejection 2 games back. So 1-0 for both of us. And I'll give you the little extra cookie here, E. North Texas 1-1 PK shootout loss. Austin clinches.
Love it.
Don't care how you get it done, boys. Just get that 3 points. And then fingers crossed when we're scoreboard watching. So, E, we'll close out today's episode with a little bit of the nonsense. None of those, I actually haven't calculated how much we lost at the books last week. And, of course, we mentioned the underdog entry was refunded with the picks at the books. Is less than a 3-unit loss there, but Sunday Night Soccer did not go our way. But what did go our way, and we were speculating, right, is that the Northern Podcast moves back into first in the Best Ball League, man, which this time last week we were saying the team is dead and we'll try again next year. And now I do think that soccer-wise, that David has moved up into second now, just 8 points back of us. We are Austin TV, which is 25 points on the week, 7 points behind David. Soccer-wise is hot, man. I think that's to me, that's the biggest threat right now because I'm pretty sure David has Buanga. And maybe even Suarez, who got a brace in the middle of the week. I don't have his team, committed to memory here, but 2 scoring periods left. So we have this weekend, and then the next 2 weeks will be the same scoring period because there's not enough games on the international break to be its own. So it's coming down to it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Should be fun.
All right, man. Anything else for you before we shut it down?
Take care of yourselves, Verdes fans. Hydrate after last night and wallow in it for a little bit. But we'll be back to the queue this weekend and cheering on our boys' favorite team. And got to be there. Got to show up.
Yeah, man. A little self-care, right? Between now and Saturday. And then we wake up Saturday morning ready to clinch a playoff berth. So we appreciate you tuning in, sticking with us here on episode 261 of the North End Podcast. Like I mentioned, we're back on Sunday recapping the first team's matchup against St. Louis City 2, recapping decision day for the second team, and talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe. Between now and then, try to enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. We'll do the same. We'll see you at the queue on Saturday and back here for another episode on Sunday. Until then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.